Welcome back to the 21 Moon Guided Meditation Series. This is your guide coach Feeney, and if you were to so based off the few conversations we've had in the previous weeks here, if you were to consider all of the truly stressful situations in your life, you'd probably find that many, if not most, involve other people. This week, we focused on communication and what it means to be mindful in our interactions with others, whether it be family, coworkers, neighbors. Our focus up until now has been on our internal world, like our thoughts, our feelings, and sensations. Now we move into the intrapersonal, to the interpersonal, taking into account another's world in a place where their world and ours meet. This means recognizing that the other person or other persons have their own perceptions, feelings, and needs, which are almost certainly different than ours. Most of us don't really listen very deeply when we are in conversation. Effective communication with those who we disagree with is extraordinarily difficult. We are like most people. You have a fallback strategy to deal with conflict that was learned early in life, one that is habitual and embedded in their interactions with others. The three most common strategies are accommodate, to be nice, to demand, like me first, or withdraw, I don't care. There is a fourth way, one that involves investigating both your world and the other's world, that can sometimes yield a surprising and creative solution that honors both worlds. In the martial art, Aikido, this would be called blending, a move that harms neither party and turns conflict into more of a dance than a fight. This is complex and an art form in itself and forms the basis of what Marshall Rosenberg calls nonviolent communication, or NVC, something that I'll briefly introduce this week. What happens when there's a listening presence? When we're fully in that listening presence, when there's that pure quality of receptivity, we become presence itself. And whether you call that pure awareness or our true nature, the boundary of inner and outer dissolves and we become a luminous field of awakeness. Whenever we are in that open presence, we can really respond to the life that's here. The state of listening is the precursor or the prerequisite to loving relatedness. The more you understand the state of listening, of being able to have the sounds of rain wash through you, of receiving the sound and tone of another's voice, the more you know about nurturing any kind of relationship. In a way, it's an extremely vulnerable position. As soon as you stop planning what you're going to say or managing what the other person's saying, all of a sudden there's no control. You're open to your own sadness, your own anger and discomforts. Listening means putting down control. It's not a small thing to do. We spend most of our moments when someone is speaking, planning what we're going to say, evaluating it, trying to come up with our own presentation of ourselves or controlling the situation. Pure listening is a letting go of control. It's not easy and it takes training, and yet it's only when we can let go of that controlling that we open up to the real purity of loving. We can't see or understand someone in the moments that we are trying to control what they are saying or trying to impress them with what we are saying. There's no space for that person to just unfold and be who they are. Listening and unconditionally receiving what another expresses is an expression of love. The bottom line is when we are listening to, we feel connected when we are listened to. When we're not listened to, we feel separate. So whether it's the communicating between different tribes, different beliefs, ethnicities, racial groups, or different generations, we need to listen. The more we understand, the less we fear. The less we fear, the more we trust. And the more we trust, the more love can flow. Isn't it true that to get to know someone or something in nature, you have to be quiet and rested in the shade of a tree? Don't have to stand under the tree. To understand anyone, you need to stand under them for a little while. And what does that mean? It means you have to listen to them and be quiet and take in who they are, as if from under, as if from inside out. So when it comes to meditation, mountains have a lot to teach. Paying archetypal significance in all cultures, mountains are sacred places people have always sought spiritual guidance and renewal in and among them. The mountain is the symbol of the prime axis of the world, like Mount Meru, the dwelling place of the gods, like Mount Olympus, the place the spiritual leader encounters God and receives his or her commandments and covenant, like Mount Sinai. Mountains are held sacred, embodying dread and harmony, harshness and majesty. Rising above all else on our planet, they beckon and overwhelm with their sheer presence. Their nature is elemental. It's rock hard, rock solid. Mountains are the place of visions, where one can touch the panoramic scale of the natural world and its intersection with life's fragile but tenacious rootings. Mountains have played key roles in our history and prehistory. To traditions, peoples, mountains were and still are mother, father, guardian, protector, and ally. In a meditation practice, it can be helpful sometimes to borrow these wonderful archetypal qualities of mountains and use them to bolster our intentionality and resolve to hold the moment with an elemental purity and simplicity. The mountain image held in the mind's eye and in the body can freshen our memory of why we are sitting in the first place and of what it truly means each time we take our seat to dwell in the realm of non-doing. Mountains are quintessentially emblematic of abiding presence and stillness. The mountain meditation that we're going to do here can be practiced in the following way and modified to resonate with your personal vision of the mountain and its meaning. It can be done in any posture. I find it most powerful when I'm sitting cross-legged on the floor so that my body looks and feels most mountain-like inside and out. Being in the mountains or in sight of a mountain is helpful, but not at all necessary. It is the inner image, which is the source of power here. Picture the most beautiful mountain you know or know of or can imagine, one whose form speaks personally to you. And as you focus on the image or the feeling of the mountain in your mind's eye, notice its overall shape, the lofty peak, the base rooted in the rock of the earth's crest, the steep or gently sloping sides. Note as well how massive it is, how unmoving, and how beautiful, whether seen from afar or up close, beauty emanating from its unique signature of shape and form, and at the same time embodying universal qualities of mountainness, transcending particular shape and form. Perhaps your mountain has snow at the top and trees on the lower slopes, and perhaps it has one prominent peak, perhaps a series of peaks, or a high plateau. However it appears, just sit and breathe with the image of this mountain, observing it, noting its qualities. When you feel ready, you can close your eyes and see if you can bring the mountain into your own body so that your body's sitting here and the mountain of the mind's eye become one. Your head becomes the lofty peak, your shoulders and arms, the sides of the mountain, your hips and legs, the solid base rooted to the floor or to a chair. Experience in your body the sense of uplift, the axial, elevated quality of the mountain deep in your own spine. Invite yourself to Come a breathing mountain, unwavering in your stillness, completely what you are, beyond words and thought, a centered, rooted, unmoving presence. Now, as well as you know, throughout the day, as the sun travels the sky, the mountain just sits. Light and shadow and colors are changing virtually moment to moment in the mountains' adamantine stillness. Even the untrained eye can see changes by the hour. These evoke those masterpieces of Claude Monet, who had the genius to set up many easels and paint the life of its inanimate subjects hour by hour, moving from canvas to canvas as the play of light, shadow, and color transformed cathedral, river, or mountain, and thereby wake up the viewer's eye. As the light changes, as night follows day and day night, the mountain just sits, simply being itself. It remains still as the seasons flow into one another and as the weather changes moment by moment and day by day. Calmness abiding all change. In summer, there is no snow on the mountain, except perhaps for the very top or in the crags shielded from direct sunlight. In the fall, the mountain may display a coat of brilliant fire colors, and in winter, a blanket of snow and ice. In any season, it may at times find itself enshrouded in clouds or fog, or pelted by freezing rain. Any tourists who come to visit may be disappointed if they can't see the mountain clearly. But it's all the same to the mountain, seen or unseen, in sun or clouds, broiling or frigid. It just sits, being itself. At times visited by violent storms, buffeted by snow and rain and winds of unthinkable magnitude. Through it all, the mountain sits. Spring comes, and the birds sing in the trees once again. Leaves return to the trees which lost them. Flowers bloom in the high meadows, and on the slopes, streams overflow with water, the water of melting snow. And through it all, the mountain continues to sit, unmoved by the weather, by what happens on the surface, by the world of appearances. As we sit holding this image in our mind, we can embody the same unwavering stillness and rootedness in the face of everything that changes in our own lives over seconds, hours, and years. In our lives and in our meditation practice, we experience constantly the changing nature of mind and body and of the outer world. We experience periods of light and dark, vivid color and drab dullness. We experience storms of varying intensity and violence in the outer world and in our own lives and minds. Buffeted by high winds, by cold and rain, we endure periods of darkness and pain, as well as savoring moments of joy and uplift. Even our appearance changes constantly, just like the mountains experiencing a weather and a weathering of its own. By becoming the mountain in our meditation, we can link up with its strength and stability and adopt them for our own. We can use its energies to support our efforts to encounter each moment with mindfulness, equanimity, and clarity. It may help us to see that our thoughts and feelings, our preoccupations, our emotional storms and crises, Even the things that happen to us are much like the weather on the mountain. We tend to take it personally, but its strongest characteristic is impersonal. The weather of our own lives is not to be ignored or denied. It is to be encountered, honored, felt, known for what it is, and held in high awareness, since it can kill us. And holding it in this way, we come to know a deeper silence and stillness and wisdom than we may have thought possible right within the storms. Mountains have this to teach us, and more if we can come to listen. And yet, when all is said and done, this practice is only a device, a finger pointing us toward somewhere. We still have to look, then go. While the mountain image can help us become more stable, human beings are far more interesting and complex than mountains. We are breathing, moving, dancing mountains. We can be simultaneously hard like rock, firm, unmoving, and at the same time soft and gentle and flowing. We have a vast range of potential at our disposal. We can see and feel, we can know and understand, we can learn, we can grow, we can heal, especially if we learn to listen to the inner harmony of things and hold the central mountain axis through thick and thin. And keep this mountain image in mind as you sit in formal meditation. Explore its usefulness in deepening your capacity to dwell in stillness, to sit for longer periods of time, to sit in the face of adversity, difficulties and storms of drabness in the mind. Ask yourself what you are learning from your experiments with this practice. Can you see some subtle transformation occurring in your attitude toward things that change in your life? Can you carry the mountain image with you in daily life? Can you see the mountain in others and allow them their own shape and form, each mountain uniquely itself? The mountain image is only one of many that you might find supports your practice and makes it more vivid and elemental. Images of trees, rivers, clouds, sky can be useful, allies as well. The image itself is not fundamental, but it can deepen and expand your view of the practice. Some people find the image of a lake particularly helpful. Because a lake is an expanse of water, the image lends itself to the lying down posture, although it can be practiced sitting up as well. We know that the water principle is every bit as elemental as rock, and that its nature is stronger than rock in the sense that water wears down rock. Water also has the enchanting quality of receptivity. It parts to allow anything in, then resumes itself. If you hit a mountain or a rock with a hammer, in spite of its hardness, or actually because of it, the rock chips, fragments, breaks apart. But if you hit the ocean or a pond with a hammer, all you get is a rusty hammer. A key virtue of water power reveals itself in this. To practice using the lake now in our meditation practice, picture in your mind's eye a lake, a body of water held in a receptive basin by the earth itself. Note in the mind's eye and in your own heart that water likes to pool in low places. It seeks its own level, asks to be contained. The lake you invoke may be deep or shallow, blue or green, muddy or clear. With no wind, the surface of the lake is flat. Mirror-like, it reflects trees, rocks, sky, and clouds. Holds everything in itself, momentarily. Wind stirs up waves on the lake. From ripples to chop, clear reflections disappear, but sunlight may still sparkle in the ripples and dance on the waves in a play of shimmering diamonds. When night comes, it's the moon's turn to dance on the lake, or if the surface is still, to be reflected in it along with the outline of trees and shadows. And in winter, the lake may freeze over, yet teem with movement and life below. When you have established a picture of the lake in your mind's eye, allow yourself to become one with the lake as you lie down on your back or sit in meditation, so that your energies are held by your awareness and by your openness and compassion for yourself in the same way as the lake's waters are held by the receptive and accepting basin of the earth itself. Breathing with the lake image moment by moment, feeling its body as your body, allowing your mind and your heart to be open and receptive, to reflect whatever comes near. Experience the moments of complete stillness when both reflection and water are completely clear. Other moments when the surface is disturbed, choppy, stirred up, reflections and depth lost for a time. And through it all, as you dwell in meditation, simply noting the play of the various energies of your own mind and heart, the fleeting thoughts and feelings, impulses and reactions, which come and go as ripples and waves, noting their effects, just as you observe the various changing energies at play on the lake, the wind, the waves, the light and shadow and reflections, the colors, the smells. Do your thoughts and feelings disturb the surface? Is that okay with you? Can you see a rippled or wavy surface as an intimate, essential aspect of being a lake or having a surface? Can you identify not only with the surface, but with the entire body of the water, so that you become the stillness below the surface as well, which at most experiences only gentle undulations, even when the surface is whipped to frothing? In the same way, in your meditation practice and in your daily life, you identify not only with the content of your thoughts and feelings, but also with the vast, unwavering reservoir of awareness itself residing below the surface of the mind. In this practice, we sit with the intention to hold in awareness and acceptance all the qualities of mind and body, just as the lake sits held, cradled, contained by the earth, reflecting sun, moon, stars, trees, rocks, clouds, sky, birds, light, caressed by the air and wind, which bring out and highlight its sparkle, its vitality, and its essence. And we'll end this with a passage from Henry David Thoreau's Walden. In such a day, in September or October, Walden is a perfect forest mirror, set round with stones as precious to my eye as if fewer or rarer. Nothing so fair, so pure, and at the same time so large as a lake, perchance, lies on the surface of the earth, sky water, and needs no fence. Nations come and go without defiling it. It is a mirror which no stone can crack, whose quicksilver will never wear off, whose gilding nature continually repairs. No storms, no dust can dim its surface ever fresh. A mirror in which all impurity presented to it sinks swept and dusted by the sun's hazy brush. This the light dust cloth, which retains no breath that is breathed on it, but sends its own to float as clouds high above its surface, and be reflected in its bosom still. Again, that's Henry David Thoreau and Walden. So using the lake image to support sitting or lying in stillness, not going anywhere, held and cradled in awareness. Note when the mind reflects, when the mind reflects, when it is embroiled. Note the calm below the surface. Does this image suggest new ways of carrying yourself in times of turmoil?